In today's video, we're going to talk about how to stop the shame spiral. Instead of needing to set boundaries with somebody else, shame requires you to set boundaries with yourself first.
Oh boy, shame. Now, there's a topic. Shame is one of the most debilitating emotional reactions we have. It can literally suck the energy out of our bodies and the wind out of our sails, and it stops us from moving forward. We can also get emotionally triggered from past shame, events that have happened or events that we've imagined have happened. And unless we work on it, it's something that can come up without us really knowing it. And that's one of the reasons that Sandy and I really wanted to cover this topic with you guys this week.
This is so important. So hi, I am Sandy Weiner. I am the dating and love coach for single women over 40 and the founder of Last First Date and the host of Last First Date Radio, which is an acclaimed show about healthy relationships after 40 in midlife. And
And attracting in toe-curling love.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, and I am the Teresa Byrne. I'm the founder of Empower Living, and I teach people physical and emotional boundaries for all their relationships. I'm a self-defense and martial arts master instructor. And Sandy and I are both the co-creators of Boundaries for Beautiful Relationships. It's a program that will be coming to you in March. So the first piece of the shame spiral we want to address is that shame is a reaction to judgment. It means someone or something is judging you. Now that judgment might be coming from outside of you, or it might be internal. And I want you to picture this for a second. When you see a brand new baby or a baby 6 months, 8 months old, you don't see them feeling shameful. You know, they might have messed up their diapers and they're not like embarrassed of it. They're not feeling like, oh my gosh, how long is I supposed to sit here with this diaper? Or they get food all over themselves. We don't inherently have shame. And it's a learned behavior really that's based on our culture or our family messaging. And it's the messaging that we're told of what's considered right and what's considered wrong.
Shame is also about expectations. And when other people have expectations of us and we don't meet them, we often feel a sense of unworthiness or shame. There are many kinds of expectations, like you have to go to college or get a 9 to 5 job to be successful, or you have to be married by a certain age or have children to be a success in life. And many times it's not something that we want. Like, for example, my son did not go to college because he didn't want to go to college. He pursued a career in art and music, and he's doing fantastically. And I fully supported him because college was the wrong decision for him.
There's an energetic effect to shame and the shame spiral. And on the applied kinesiology scale, shame has been calculated in our bodies and our energy systems as being the closest to literal death. And in some cultures, it is called a little death. So shame can make us feel like we want to curl up into a ball or not like we've been stabbed or wounded. And not only does it take our energy away, it literally zaps our will to live in that moment and our will to go forward. And shame starts as a spiral. We may have something that happens outside of us or in our heads where we begin shaming, and then we have shame about a shame, and it starts this negative spiraling effect, and it's really hard to either think creatively, to move forward, or to have actions that make us feel worthy or good because we're feeling all of that angst, that low vibration, that low density.
Shame sucks. I mean, literally sucks the life out of us.
Sucks the life out of you.
Sucks in general. So the next thing we want to talk about is rejection. Our fear of rejection can create shame and even paralysis. We already fear rejection that's based on a past experience when we have been embarrassed or felt ashamed and we were really vulnerable. So in my own coaching practice, many of my clients are afraid to speak up when they have a need because they are afraid that they're going to appear too needy, or they're afraid to speak up when their feelings are hurt because they're afraid that their feelings don't matter enough. Because in the past, They may have had a partner who told them that they were too needy or too sensitive and made them feel shame. And so that fear of rejection that we have now brings on a sense of shame, and you enter into a shame spiral rather than standing in your own power.
In my family, there was an expectation that you would find a job, you'd go to college, you'd find a job, and you would stay with that job until you retired, and then that would take care of you. And both of my parents worked for the government, and my brother actually went into a company like IBM. So, everybody's expectations were that's what you did. My desire to be an entrepreneur was not something that I was trained how to do in my family, but it was definitely in my soul. It wasn't in my blood, but it was in my soul. When I had the opportunity to open up a martial arts studio, it fed my soul, the ability to help people, the ability to work with kids and adults. It was something that was really important to me. How shame showed up for me was whenever we would discuss how my business was doing, and there was always this kind of veil of, it's kind of crazy, it's nutty, it's not something that's normal. I would get embarrassed if my studio wasn't doing really well. And I had a large 6,000 square foot studio, 15 plus employees, and was running a big program. So if my studio was suffering, or if we were having a down month, or if there was some kind of difficulty financially or business-wise, I felt really ashamed and I felt embarrassed, and I had to move through the energy of that, knowing that I was doing something that I loved. But I really had to work through that concept of being embarrassed when things were difficult. And as an entrepreneur, that things, they cycle, they're up and down. And I had to understand that, but my family version was, it wasn't okay.
Mm. As a fellow entrepreneur, Teresa, I can feel your pain. And how many times have people told me, hey, why don't you get a real job? Especially when I was trying to make a living after my divorce, and I couldn't always make a full living based on the coaching work that I was doing. But I stuck with it, just like you, because it is a lot of ups and downs, and you have to really work through any kind of shame that anybody else is putting on you. And the story that I want to share is about body shame. And many of you can probably relate to this, but when I was an adolescent, about 12 or 13 years old, I was really flat-chested, and I was embarrassed about it because I thought you had to have boobs to be considered sexy or womanly or attractive to the boys. And eventually I started stuffing my bra with stockings. I found a really creative solution, but it created more shame because I was embarrassed to take my clothes off, even in front of my friends. I remember sleepover parties where everybody would be getting undressed, and I would go hide in a corner or go to the bathroom to get undressed. And I always wore a bra to sleep so people wouldn't know the real me. And I even my posture reflected my shame because I was sort of embarrassed that I had these boobs. And so I kind of slouched. It's crazy when I think about it now, because I am so okay with my boobs. Eventually, when I started to really be okay with my body and had worked through the shame spiral, I even went braless for many years because I didn't need a bra, and I was kind of happy about that.
Woohoo! So body shame is something that women are very, very familiar with. And I respect Sandy's story, and I think most of you guys will understand it as well. There's another way that shame can show up. And in my work as a self-defense instructor, I can tell you that many women who've been sexually assaulted or been in toxic or abusive relationships don't report the abuse due to the shame around the event or the events. They somehow believe that they were responsible, or the stigma of what it makes them if they were in toxic relationships or if they were assaulted, and how someone might see them. They start to doubt themselves and their own choices, and they lack the freedom to say no. I had one client, and it just, every time I think about her, when we were working together, she had been assaulted, and she was being stalked by the person who assaulted her. And we were in a situation where I was having her fight back to me on a pad, and I was holding a pad, and I had her yell no as she struck back to me. And she broke down and started crying. And she said, I've never been able to say no. She said, I've been raped, been brutalized. I've been all kinds of awful things that have happened to me. And I've never, not once, known it was okay to say no. And that's what happens. We aren't taught how to say no, or how to stand up for ourselves, or how to fight back. And honestly, this is too big of a topic for us to go into all in this segment, but we will create another video to cover this.
That's such a horrible, horrible story. And Teresa, I'm so glad that you were able to help her work through her shame spiral and learn how to say no, which is such an important piece of our boundary training that we teach in our course and we teach in our work. Thank you for sharing that. So now I want to share our process for how to stop the shame spiral. And as always, you don't have to take notes. You can download the cheat sheet that is in the download right below this video. So the first step in stopping the shame spiral is to breathe. Just taking a big breath and breathe out. And if you've watched any of our other videos, maybe you're noticing a pattern that breathing is such an important part of boundary setting. It gives you that space right at the beginning where you just take a breath when you feel like you've been sucker punched or hit or feel shame. It's so important to just take a breath and center yourself first. And the next step is to feel it. Feel it in your body. Where are you feeling it? Are you, do you feel it in your face? Are you turning all red? Or maybe the color has drained from your face. Maybe your breathing is shallow. See where it's showing up in your body.
And the next piece is to allow it. So allow the feeling to be okay. No one likes feeling shame. No one enjoys the feeling of shame. But the last thing you want to do is be ashamed of feeling shame. Shame feels like a knife, but it isn't. It feels like an actual wound, but it's not. So that's the reason that we want, when we feel ashamed, to curl up into a ball, protect ourselves, because it really does feel like something is stabbing us, and we get hot, we get pale, but know that you will be okay, that you will survive. So allow yourself to feel whatever you're feeling. And truly, to stop this shame spiral, you want to draw boundaries. So you're going to draw boundaries with yourself against the judgment thoughts. Remember, shame is always a judgment. So if it's a judgment someone else made about you, or that you're making about yourself, you want to stop yourself from spiraling. So no self-deprecating thoughts. No, I'll always, I'll never, I'm a loser, I can't, none of that. So you want to allow yourself to feel it and draw boundaries around your thinking. And ask yourself, is this real? Is it real? What is the shame about? What judgment am I facing? Is it from myself? Is it from someone else?
I love those questions, and it's such a great process. The next step is to let it go.
Let it go.
Yeah, let it go, let it go. Once you have clarity about where your shame is coming from, take another breath. Just blow it out of your body. You want to get that shame out and let it go back to the vapors where it belongs and away from you. The next step is to take action. In this final step, you're going to ask yourself if there's something that you don't yet know or you need to learn to develop some competency where you now feel shame. So for example, if you're afraid to speak up when your feelings are hurt, you can get coaching. You can read a book about assertive communication. You can practice speaking up with people who feel safe to you. If you have trouble saying no, you can practice saying no to things that are easy, like, no, I don't really want to go bowling. I'd rather go to the movies. So rinse and repeat this process whenever shame shows up for you, and you can get out of that shame spiral.
And just to repeat, stopping the shame spiral, breathe, feel it, allow it, draw those boundaries, let it go, and take action. We really hope that you found this video helpful. Shame is not a topic a lot of people really enjoy talking about or hearing about. if you did enjoy the topic, please share with your friends and on social media. And please join us next week for another video in our boundary series.